There is a new Netflix documentary coming out tomorrow, and it is all about the saga of QuadrigaCX and the mystery of Gerald Cotten and his mysterious death. And we've got a bit of video to show you here.
When I think of somebody who's a criminal mastermind, who's devious, calculating, cunning, what we don't think of is a geeky 24-year-old.
Jerry came across friendly, positive, upbeat.
Everyone has a thing they're a nerd about. It seemed like Jerry's was business.
I created QuadrigaCX for buying and selling Bitcoin.
Canada's largest cryptocurrency exchange.
Are we hanging out with Mark Zuckerberg right now? Is that what's going on?
Jerry faked his own death and run off with the money.
Organised crime, Russian mobsters.
It's possible his wife could have poisoned him.
Who can you really believe?
Whew. Heady stuff, heady stuff. I am so looking forward to seeing this tomorrow. I have listened to all the other podcasts I think that I could get my hands on. Full disclosure here, back in the day, 2019, I lost money on Quadriga. Yes, not much, just a little bit. I know enough not to keep my money on an exchange, but I was actually cashing some out at the time. And yeah, and I kind of knew Jerry a little bit, because we worked together, but that was all in the past. Now what is happening, so for a little bit of background, back in the day, January 2019, QuadrigaCX filed for creditor protection in the Supreme Court of Nova Scotia. That was because, as it turned out, the 30-year-old Gerald Cotten, Jerry Cotten, had reportedly died under peculiar circumstances in December while he was on his honeymoon in India. At the time, QuadrigaCX was the largest crypto exchange in Canada by far. It was pretty much the only, well, I think it was almost the only job in town. So This is where many Canadians would buy and sell Bitcoin. And as it turns out, the whole thing may very well have been a Ponzi scheme from the start, a scam right from the start. And so these documentaries and podcasts that have been coming out are delving into a lot of the speculation about whether or not Jerry is even dead. He may still be alive somewhere, living the high life, sipping Mai Tais on a beach using my $1,000 to fund himself. Yes, that much. So yeah, anyway, I'm really looking forward to seeing this documentary tomorrow, see if there's anything new that hasn't come out in the other podcasts, but I think this is going to be extremely accessible. And even people who aren't interested in crypto may find this interesting just as a mystery. So Adam, you remember back in the day when this all went down. What are your thoughts?
I mean, everybody loves these stories, right? Everybody loves kind of the mystery and the weirdness that surrounded this one. I think that we had Gerald Cotten as one of our most influential a couple of years back after he had died, I think. And again, it was because, it was because, you know, like these stories are fascinating because we don't really know what happened. So on the one hand, you know, like, it kind of doesn't matter what happened because ultimately the fallout kind of continues around this. And on the other hand, people really, I think, would like closure when it comes to this story. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's just an amazing story. You're right, but I think there are human repercussions to this, right? There are, you know, clients and customers of these exchanges who lost sums of money. There are, you know, family members of Gerald Cotten and others who are, you know, deeply involved in this story. It's kind of hard, and seeing that trailer kind of has some of the, I cringed a little bit because I mean, I think it does sort of play up to some of those sensational impulses that are native to this story, just because it is such a crazy story. This is like a story that was, it was in Vanity Fair, for instance. Like Vanity Fair had a fantastic profile about this epic saga of Quadriga. You know, this is a strange story with lots of strange details, lots of mysterious circumstances. There was an exhumation request at some point issued by the Mounties. I don't know if that was ever executed. There's all sorts of weird things in this story, and I'm really curious to see what level of detail this piece, this Netflix piece goes into, because again, you know, from the conspiracy theory of, you know, Jerry's in Cuba with Tupac sipping on Mai Tais to, you know, no, it's just like he
that
just
would be
met an unfortunate end, and this is what happened with it. It's a crazy story. It has not gone away, and every time we're reminded of it, I am just in awe of the crazy stories that this space produces on a regular basis, like the alleged BitConnect hackers, right? Like all that stuff. There's so many crazy stories, and this one, I think, for me, is the craziest. But I'll throw it to you, Jen. What are your thoughts?
I think, to your point, we're going to see more of these infamous stories dramatized for the mainstream. When you watch this, it's just like, you can't believe this is happening. And just like everyone has said, I think this has appeal not only in the crypto community, but for anyone who loves a great, dramatized, sensational thing to watch on a Friday night. I also think, though, that it is going to get more mainstream interest from people who weren't interested in crypto before. I think people will watch this, they will be shocked, they will learn a little bit or a lot, and they will be privy to the types of scams that happen not only in this space, but in many other spaces when we're talking about finances and the online world. And so I think a lot of people are going to learn from this. They're going to be entertained, and it's not going to be the first Netflix documentary that tells some crazy crypto story from the years behind us. So I don't know. I'm excited to watch it, and maybe Christy will learn about. Was your story featured in it, Christy?
Not this one. No. It was not. Mine was a very small story. I did not lose, some of them lost like $400,000. I was nowhere near that.
And that's
like
the
I say, I know enough
part.
not to keep that much on an exchange. So
well, that's something people can learn, right?
Something people can learn. That plus, keep your private keys safe and don't, drop them off the side of a boat accidentally. Nudge, nudge. That kind of stuff. There's a lot to learn about crypto in general, and also the fact that this guy was, he was a scammer before he even got into crypto. So it's not unique to crypto, and I think that's really important too. Zach?
Yeah, I mean, just the repercussions of this story. We had more Quadriga talk with Wonderland, right, which is that DeFi experiment on,
exactly.
I think it was on Avalanche, and one of the co-founders of Quadriga was exposed as a member of sort of the leadership team of Wonderland, and Wonderland sort of tanked as a result. So sort of like whether it's that or whether it's sort of the regulatory repercussions in the Canadian crypto market as a result of this thing, Quadriga is sort of a touchstone moment for a number of reasons, and it's going to be interesting to see what comes of this particular telling.